Počituvani kolegi, dobro vi večer. Se nadam neka se gledam i neka se slušame. Kako što znate, dobrodošli na webinar od Scientometrics. Kako što znate, oficijalni jezik na webinaru je angliski, tako što je продолжам da vi se obraćam na angliski jezik. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed researchers, scientists, academic professionals, funding agencies, policymakers, industry experts, librarians, information specialists, and colleagues. Good evening and welcome to this esteemed virtual Zoom webinar organized by the Scientific Foundation Spiroski and Modern Marketing. Today we are gathered here to delve into the fascinating realm of Scientometrics, a field that plays a pivotal role in shaping the future of scientific research and publication. Scientometrics, as we have learned, is not just the study of numbers. It's a comprehensive approach to understanding the intricate fabric of scientific research and publications in the 21st century. Through quantitative analysis, meticulous data collection, and insightful bibliometric indicators, Scientometrics enables us to evaluate scientific output, assess impact, and identify meaningful patterns within the vast landscape of research. Our distinguished speakers, Pavlo Kolomiiets and Professor Mirko Spiroski, will guide us through this enriching journey. Pavlo Kolomiiets, an expert in scientific consulting, will shed light on the necessity of Scientometrics for contemporary scientists. He will explore the emergence of Scientometrics, demystify scientometric databases like Scopus, Web of Science, and Google Scholar, and provide valuable advice on journal selection and researcher indexes. Following this, Professor Mirko Spiroski, a prominent figure in the field of immunology and human genetics, will enlighten us about the critical role of standard identifiers in scientific publishing. His insights into international standard books numbers, ISBNs, international standard serial numbers, ISSNs, digital object identifiers, DOIs, open researcher and contributor ID, ORCID, and research organization registry, ROR, will showcase how these identifiers enhance the credibility and discoverability of research outputs. As we progress through this webinar, you will gain practical knowledge about avoiding predatory publishers, enhancing scientometric indicators, and embracing international collaboration and digital identifiers to elevate your scientific endeavors. I would like to express our gratitude to the organizers, the Scientific Foundation Spiroski and Modern Marketing, for bringing together such esteemed speakers and participants from diverse sectors of the scientific community. Your presence here today underscores your commitment to advancing scientific knowledge and fostering meaningful collaborations. Before we commence, I encourage you all to actively participate in the discussions and make the most out of this enriching experience. Let's embark on this knowledge-filled journey together, embracing the power of Scientometrics to shape the future of scientific research. Once again, welcome to this enlightening webinar on Scientometrics. Thank you for being here, and let's make this virtual gathering a fruitful and engaging experience for everyone. Thank you. I now give the floor to Mr. Pavlo Kolomiiets.
Nice to meet you all. In a while, I will share my screen for all of us to see your presentation. At first, I want to say a little sorry in advance because today I've already got a couple of webinars and my thoughts can go a little slowly now, and I'm sorry for that in advance, but I'll try to do my best to explain the necessity of Scientometrics as it is. Okay, in a while I will share my screen. Perfect. I hope everybody can see what I show. If not, please write down it in chat and we will fix everything that is needed to fix. We have, I guess, a couple of more minutes for newcomers to enter our little journey, scientometrical journey, and that's why at first I will introduce myself and will explain why am I here and who am I in general. My name is Pavlo Kolomiiets. I'm a representative of a scientific and educational center of a scientific publication company. I've got only one slide about our company, and there it is. And I will cite it for you to understand why I am the one whom you should listen to. I don't know how to explain why I have an authority to tell you something. A few words about our company. We now work more than 7 years in a scientometric field. As as was noticed before, we work in scientific consulting, so we help with publication and indexing and also preparation of scientific articles of scientists. And yeah, about our statistic, we work in more than 45 countries for a moment. We are based in Ukraine, in Kiev, so it may actually and yeah, and English is not my native language, but I will do my best to be understandable. And if you want to hear something or I will spell something badly, you can also write it in chat and we will be happy to explain. So that was a short introduction of myself, and now we can go right to the topic. And as you may remember from the first slide, our topic is the necessity of scientometric. And following the logic, we should start from what was the reasons of it to appear. And this slide can help us with that understanding. First of all, I need to say that an emergence of scientometrics was a kind of a necessity. Being honest, I can't imagine modern world without it. And scientists in the middle of 20th century also thought that. So what was the reason of it to emerge? And the first and the main reason is the exponential growth of science as it is, because I think you will agree that without such thing as scientometrics, which by the way deals with extensive research of scientific documents, with assessment of scientific productivity, that is a definition, right? And why did it emerge? You can imagine in the middle of previous century, when nobody heard and thought about such thing as no scientometric, it was almost impossible to search for the modern information in a chosen scientific field without international databases, about which we will talk in a while. And also that was a huge problem of plagiarism that also appeared, and scientists decided that it cannot go like this no more, and that's why scientometric appeared. What else can we mention here? Scientometrics helps to index and to record activities of different scientists of different scientific organization, university, etc. And that's why it led to a creation of world scale rankings of scientists of universities. But we will talk about it, I guess, in 10 minutes or so. So I won't do it now, right? Also, scientometrics is necessary, as I said previously, to format as statistics. Also for scientists and for scientific organization too. And formatting of institutions, statistics was also important. Why is that important? Actually, we will talk right now. I mentioned databases as places which helped the world to it helps to make a search. First of all, the first, I guess, reason for databases to appear is to help modern scientists to make their research, scientific research, easier. So now everyone in the world, almost every scientist in the world can easily find a modern themes of his subject field in just few clicks using such databases, for example, as Web of Science or Scopus. In really couple of clicks, with the help of couple of keywords, everybody in the world can find the most modern information about each topic they want. And that is exactly the you can imagine how it helps during the research, because as we know, that's a huge tradition of citations inside the scientists' fields, and scientometric databases made it possible, actually. And now we will talk about the reasons why do you need to publish your work in international scientometrical databases. And I underline the word international because for sure, almost each country has got its own local databases. But why the global ones are more important? Because once you published your article in a journal that is indexing in a worldwide database, now you're stepped into the global arena of scientists all around the world. So I will name other reasons. First of all, it can be said that publishing in international databases help you to improve the quality of your work. And what I mean by that is that why people respect Scopus and Web of Science so much. Easily because it's easily because of huge criteria for journals that this database gives. Following that, journals that are indexing in each database should also have a big and strong criteria for new articles that will be published. That's why being published in such a journal, you improve that your work has got a world-class quality, and everybody else also sees and understands it. Next one, international recognition. I have already said that once you've been published in an international database, now everyone in the world who is registered there can find your works, and what is even more important, can cite your work. But about citations, we will talk in a while. Next, we see that if you want to obtain, for now, almost everywhere in the world, if you want to obtain a scientific title or a specific degree, you need to have databases, or you need to have publications, in worldwide databases. It's like a law. Also, grant support and obtaining additional financing to your research. It's also logical that person who decide to whom to give a grant for something, it's logical that it will be better, really it will be better for such a person to choose a scientist, for example, whose metrics are great, because it shows that such a scientist care about his scientometrical image, and it's easier. There are more chances that such a person won't just take the money and run away, because such a person with high metrics, it means that this journey is important for him, and it's better for a person who gives grant to trust such a person. and not the one who don't have scientific metrics at all. Next one is an increasing of H index. H index is maybe the main metric in the scientific world. We will talk about it also soon. And also with this, the last point is to maintain, to grow a statistic of a scientific institution you are in. Because as we may know, while increasing your own scientific metrics, you will also increase the scientific scientometrical metrics of an organization or an institute you're working in, and it will let your scientific institution to appear in worldwide rankings, so on. And it will also help this institution to have more money. And I guess it's great. So we mentioned, or we've already mentioned the necessity of databases. And we've already mentioned that a lot of journals from all around the world are inside those databases. And simply we can divide such a journal in 3 business models. First one is a traditional one. It's a business model where author pay for publishing his article. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed. Traditional model is the one where author don't pay for a publication there, but readers of these journals are only the people who have a subscription for it. So audience pay, author not, in a traditional model. Next one is an open access model. It's a reverse one where authors should pay for publication, but people from all around the world can see and read it for free. And the third one is a hybrid one. It's a combination of previous two. And what is interesting to mention here, I guess, it sounds logical, right? That for scientists, it's better to publish in a journals of traditional model, because scientists shouldn't pay for it. But not everything here is that obvious, because actually our statistic, and actually not only our, but statistic in general, shows that publication in open access journals are better for further citations. Logic is simple, actually, because people don't need to pay for subscription to such journals. It simply means that more people could eventually find that article, and it's also logical that the more people followed and saw this article, then it means that the more people will eventually cite it. And citations are very important in scientific world, in scientometrical world, also because exactly citations can help you to grow your metrics. Okay, yeah, we can see a statistic from the slides that the citation rates of open access journals are 95% higher compared to traditional business one. Okay, I will go further. Going back to Scopus and Web of Science, they are the biggest and the most respectful databases in the world. And we as scientists must know services that can help us work with those databases. And they are also on this slide. I will tell a little about each of them. What services are available in Scopus? The first one is journal search in Scopus by itself. So Scopus is a searching system by itself, and you can search for journals that will be suitable for you right there. Next one is Journal Finder. It's a service also, but it is not actually integrated in a Scopus database, but it's a good service that can also help you to find uh, journals that are suitable for you. CGR is also a rating of journals, and author search in Scopus can help you to look through authors inside this database. It may be a good idea to search for authors because simply because sometimes you can find a journal that is the most suitable for you. In a way, you're finding other authors with the same topic as you, and you can see where they publish their work, and it means that you can also send your publication to such journals. And talking about Web of Science, there are also a couple of services you may use here. For example, my favorite one, Master Journalist. It's a free service with very easy registration, and it can also help you to find the most suitable journal for you. Next one is Web of Science search. So it means that in the Web of Science itself, you can also find what you need. Next database that is also worth mentioning is the Google Scholar one. What is the main advantage of Google Scholar? For us to, I'm sure most of you know that, but I will gently repeat that. If you publish a publication inside a journal that is indexed in Scopus, it will improve your indicators only in this database. So it means that your indicators, your H index, for example, can differ from database to database. I mean, your indicators in Scopus will differ from your indicators in Web of Science because they index materials only from journals that are indexed inside of it. I hope that I talk quite clearly. But if something you can always ask or will be able to ask in an hour, yeah, I guess during the Q&A session. And so what is the main advantage of Google Scholar? The main advantage of Google Scholar is that it search for your works all around the internet. So your indicators in Google Scholar will always be larger than anywhere else. And it can really help you developing some scientific goals you may be willing to aim. As I said before, an appearance of Scientometrics let us to see the statistic of scientists and also of scientific institutions, of universities. Now we can rank each of them based on also some indicators. We will talk about these indicators. And now you see three biggest rankings all around the world. Just a while. Okay. The logic. How are they placed there? How a university can improve their position? And as I said before, there are different types of measurement, but the one I mentioned before is that by improving of scientometrical indicators of each of their professors, university also increase their place in ratings. Next one. Oh. Yeah, now we will talk about main scientometric indicators. One more time, I think all of you know about it, but for a few of us who don't, I will explain. Actually, there are three main indicators, four main indicators inside each database. Actually, now I see it's 7:30, and in a program my time of my speech was still 7:30, and now I need a little more time. I guess I'll be done in 10 minutes or something like that. We'll try to make it so there are four main indicators in each database, and there are first one, the total number of publications inside each database. Next one is the citation index. It means the total number of citation of all articles of such a scientist. Next one is average citation rate. So it's a simple example of divide. So average number of citations divided per articles, number of articles. And the last one is H index, Hirsch index. So that is actually the basic logic of all types of rankings, starting from rankings of scientists and going right to university ones. Talking also about main scientometric indicators, we can add this. We can divide. It will be smart to divide it right here. Indicators of quality of journals and indicators of quality of scientists. For journal, we can see such titles as impact factor. It's actually not translated, I don't know why, but impact factor. It's a main indicator for journal in a Web of Science database. You will see it a lot if you will try to publish your article there. Then CGR, it's a indicator for Scopus site score, also for Scopus quartile and SNP. Those are how we see 6 main indicators of journal. Each of them, you can read about each of them either just in internet or on our website. We've got a big blog that is running on for years, and I guess we have answers for all the scientometric question you may have, but I don't know how to. Oh, I know, actually. We will send you the presentation which I show you now on Monday, and then you will, I guess, have a link on our website. And talking about the main indicators of scientists or organizations, they are citation indexes, all the one from previous slide, total numbers of publication, Hirsch index, and average citation rate. As you can see, almost everything in the scientometrical world is caused on a citation index in that or other way. So citations are our boss. I don't know, is it correct to say it? Talking about Hirsch index is also the main indicator for almost all the databases. And now we will talk about the main reasons to increase your Hirsch index. And also, as you, I'm sure, know, Hirsch index is based on citation rates also, but it's a simple comparison. It's a simple comparison of number of publication to number of citation, but it's a whole another topic. I won't start it now. So what are the benefits for a scientist with a great Hirsch index? First one, obtaining fundings and grants. As we said in the beginning of our meeting, it's easier to obtain fundings or grants if you have a big indicators, because it shows that you care, and if you care, it's less likely that you will steal the money and go. Next point is the opportunity to cooperate with famous scientists. A point is a huge topic in Scientometrics is co-authorship. It's a great idea. It is suitable for almost each scientific goal. And the point here, one of the advantages of co-authorship is an increasing of geographic of your influence. And the best possible variant is to cooperate with a famous scientist because it will expand your wage. I don't know how to say it. Your wage in the scientific world too, but famous scientists won't cooperate with the ones who hasn't got indicators at all. That's why you need to care about yours. You need to increase them because it will help you to open all the scientific doors. Yeah, and all other we've already mentioned before, so I will just go further. The next point is which age index, because now I guess we know that it's the most important indicator, and which age index is okay. You may ask, and I will talk about it quite shortly, but for us to understand the logic, it's for sure those numbers aren't perfect, aren't necessary, but in average, those numbers can be quite true. So we see that age index from 0 to 2 is okay for young researchers. From 3 to 6 is okay to candidates of science. From 3 to 8 is okay for reviewers of scientific publication. 7-10 is okay for PhDs. 10-17, member of the editorial board of a journal, dissertational council, etc. Starting from 20 is okay for world famous scientists, and from 30 it's a level of a Nobel laureate. Okay, I guess I've got information for 5 more minutes. I'll try not to take longer. And now I will try to explain, I will try to prove that what are the reasons for you to register on each of databases about which we talked before. And the main reasons are if you have a digital scientific identifiers. So the main reasons for this are first, for sure, it's quick identification of you in a huge researchers' world. Quick identification is great idea because if you've made your identifiers correctly, everyone in the world visiting yours can see all your previous, for example, works. And in the long run, it will help to increase your scientometrical indicators very well because, no, I guess you understand because of what. Next one is an elimination of errors of author with identical surnames and affiliation. Of course, it's obvious that in our huge world, there are some researchers with similar names and surnames, and digital identifiers is the thing that can help to divide them. I mean, because I think you will agree that it's quite bad when you published an article and it is going to another scientist with the same name as yours. And to prevent that, you need to take care of your digital identifiers. Next one is a broad possibility to make your research CV better. and more meaningful. Next one is it's increase of your authority, because as we agreed, I guess, before, it's important, it's impossible to imagine modern world without scientometric, because it will just lose all order. It will be impossible to track anything. It will be impossible to know all the latest updates of your fields and so on. And if we take a position that scientometric is if scientometric needed to be, we also should agree that having good profiles with high indicators will increase your authority among the community. ORCID, as you see it here, is a place where you can you can connect all your identifiers in one place. And the main reason for that is, at first, I won't name all of these we see on a picture, but I will talk about the main ones. And I guess the first reason to have ORCID is to have a reliable connection between you and your works all around the internet. And for your works to help you to increase your indicators. For that to be possible, you need to connect all of them to your profiles. Also, I try to pick the main one. Give me a second. Yeah, we have already talked about increasing of recognition. But what is even more important is increasing of availability of your works. Why is it important? We've already mentioned also, because if all your works are available and easy to find, in the long run, it will increase your identifiers, your indicators in a huge way. Because everybody who will find one of your works, it will be easy for them to find the rest of them. Okay, I've got a few more minutes, I guess. I'll try to go fast for us not to stay here for too long. There are 4 rules of confirmation of your professional development as a scientist in a scientometrical world. And those are, first one is the publication of scientific article in worldwide databases such as Scopus, Web of Science, etc. Next move is to publish. Next step, maybe the next, but other step is to publish articles in local journals that also have a weight inside your country. Also, internship is a great idea for the ones who want to confirm their professional development. And last step is participation in webinars and events as we have today, because as was said in the beginning, it really shows that you care and that you want to grow as a professional and that it's important for you. A few more words about how scientists can deal with all of that, and how can scientists influence and increase his citations. The great idea is to use social networks for that. The main idea here is that I will tell a few sentences, but it will be most suitable for each social media, no matter what. There are 2 simple steps. I will simplify it special for today. I will simplify it, but the main idea here is if you publish news and updates about your research that will then eventually become an article. If you post it in your field, in your page in each of these social networks, it will help. And I will explain why in the second step. Second step is to be active inside those social networks. For example, if you work in any actually field, there are the biggest journals in that field. There are the most famous scientists working in that field, and you should subscribe to all of this, to journal and to famous scientists. And a good idea, if you are an expert in your field, you can take part in a comment section, because um, it's usual that there are a lot of conversation going there, and if you will add your 2 cents to the comment section and showing that you are an expert, in a period of time, people will notice you there, and they will be interested in you, and they will go to your page. And as I said previously, if you publish your research activity at your page, those people will subscribe to your page, and it will help to grow your citation rates in the long run also. The main point here is that it's almost impossible to tell you a way by which you can increase your indicators in 5 minutes, but good news is that it's not that complicated, but it can take time. And following few simple steps for long enough, you will definitely have your readers and have your citations. In the end, I will give you some tips that can help you to improve your scientific indicators. Oh, at first I see that point number 8 is also still on Ukrainian. I'm sorry for that. Maybe it was I have no actual reasons for it to be on Ukrainian. That's why I'm sorry for that. But we still can name a few of such tips. For example, the first one, we see that it's that your work should arouse interest with its topic and innovative approach to research. Innovative approach to research is crucial for successful publication, because each journal is interested in innovating the field they're working in, and if you will do that, it will be great. Next tip is to publish in written and verified journals. Few words about predatory journals, so-called one, is journals which don't want to actually publish you, but they lie to you about that and make you to pay them, and then they will disappear. A simple tip to simple tip for you not to meet such journals, not to send them any money, is that each journal you will pick to publish in, you need to check them in the services of a database that this journal says it's indexed in. In simple words, if you found a journal in Scopus that is suitable for you, before even contacting them, you need to find the journal in a Scopus base. So in a search bar in Scopus itself, you need to write down the title of this journal, and if it appears there, it means that this journal exists, and you can work with that, you can communicate with that. And if there is no such a journal in this database, it means that that's a predatory journal and it lies to you. It's applicable to each database. So for Web of Science, you also can do it the same way. There are a couple of services that help you do with that. For example, as we mentioned, for Web of Science, it's Master Journalist. It was in a previous slide when you will have your presentation on Monday. In a lecture, you will see it. You will see it. And also, okay, I will talk about other tips and we will finish. Write review articles that highlight the research process. That is exactly the point I was trying to make on a previous slide. That's how you need to manage your social network pages. You need to write articles that highlight the research process for the moment when your research will be published. The more people will know about it, the more citation you will have. And the best how to say it is not the best reason, but the best way to tell the people about your research is a posting. Yeah, what is the next? Yeah, also the great topic is so-called metadata. Metadata, for 1 second. So metadata, what is it about? Metadata is the title of your work, is annotation to it, and keywords. And being written correctly, it will also increase your chances to be found in Google, for example, right? Yeah. Okay, and also you need to write an article. Try to write an article on a popular language for more people to understand it. Okay, what else do I have? Let me see. Yeah, you will also be able to join our YouTube, for example, where we talk about different scientometrical topics. You will have a link when you will have a presentation. So if you have any question about our services, you can write this to this email you see on the screen. As I said at the beginning, we work with a lot of countries and we have representatives in some of them, but for now, I will give you a contact email of our main office in Ukraine. For it will be easier for us to manage you later if you are interested in any help during the publication process. And so I guess it's everything I have for now, and I am ready to finish.
First of all, I would like to say hello to all of you, especially to my colleague from Ukraine, Pavlo Kolomiiets, who agreed to be part of this webinar, and I hope this is only start of our cooperation, and we will continue in the near future with more cooperations. I will be short because the time was running. Please give me first slide. I will talk in short, and I will try to be really short. And I will talk about what is scientific method, what are steps in scientific method, what's an identifier, what is scientific circle, what are international standard book number and international standard serial number, a little bit about digital object identifier, about Scopus affiliation identifier, about ORCID, and a little bit at the end about the research organization registry. Next slide, please. What is scientific method? Scientific method is mathematical and experimental technique employed in the science. More specifically, it is the technique used in the construction and testing of scientific hypotheses. So the method is kind of testing a scientific hypothesis. The process is not different to different disciplines, but it is rather general for all disciplines. Next slide, please. There are several schemas about the steps in scientific method from 4 to 10, but I decided to use these with 6 steps. And because of the shortage of the time, I will be very short. There are 6 steps in which the first one is asking a question. The beginning of investigation is to ask ourselves what is significant to be answered differently from the previous time. Next slide, please. But to see what is different from the previous knowledge, we have to use published literature, or how to say, to do background research. And it is very tedious job, and I do not have time to go in details, but it is very important because if the question from the learned background is missing, then there is logic to do scientific work. Next slide, please. Third step is construction of hypothesis. According to me, the most important step. Hypothesis is an educated guess about how the things work. It is an attempt to answer our question with explanation that can be tested. If it shouldn't be able to be tested, it is not good hypothesis. A good hypothesis allows us to make a prediction in the kind of, if I do this, then this will happen. And this is very important to construct a proper hypothesis. Next step, please. Next slide. The next is testing of hypothesis and doing usually an experiment. In this part, there are a lot of sub parts and modifications, but if the procedure we're choosing is working, then we can go further. If not, then we have to modify, to ask other methods to check other possibilities to test our hypothesis. Next slide, please. The next is analysis of our data and drawing a conclusion. This is very also important part because from our data, collecting from our experiments using different, mainly statistical methods, we can analyze and draw a conclusion. And next slide, please. And the final is to communicate our results and generally to publish in scientific literature. And we saw from the previous lecture how important and what it means. Next slide, please. But in all these processes, there are a lot of identifiers because all of these processes should be standardized and use identical identifier in each step. An identifier is an opaque or explicit number or alphanumeric label, which is machine or human readable, and it uniquely and permanently identifies and retrieves an object, a document, a person, a place, organization, or any entity in the real world and on the internet. There are a lot of identifiers, but I decided to tell you a little bit about the most prominent identifiers. And These are digital object identifier, international standard book number, international standard serial number, open researcher and contributor ID or ORCID, and research organization registry. Next slide, please. Many of the scientists are agreed that the scientific method is in general a circle because it never ended and it is never closed, but it is always open, and all the time we can ask the different questions and put different hypotheses from the similar problems. Because of that, some of the scientists are talking about the scientific circle. And as we can see from these, everything started with hypotheses, then to research and discovery, then to methodological design, data collection, data analysis, drafting of the text, publication, outreach, and assessment with scientific methods, and so on. Next slide, please. But there are a lot of identifiers in all of these steps, and the number of these identifiers is more than 100. I decided to show you in short only the identifiers for the people included in scientific circle. These are ORCID ID, Scopus, Researcher ID, and others. Organizations included in the scientific circle where the scientific work is performed. This is Research Organization Registry, GRID, Founder ID, and so on. Also, very important identifiers in outputs, which are ISBN, ISSN, and DOI, and also objects which are the predmet of the investigation, as well as workflow in which clinical trials are the most important. As you can see, there are a lot of identifiers which should be fulfilled through the research in any field. Next slide, please. International Standard Book Number is the oldest one, and this is a 13-digit number that identify book in any kind, in printed, electronic, or any kind. And from January 1st, 2007, the ISBN system switched to a 13-digit format. Previously, it was 10-digit format. Now we have this one. I don't want to go in details. Next slide, please. International Standard Serial Number is an 8-digit code used to identify newspapers, journals, magazines, and periodicals of all kinds, and in all media, print and electronic. Generally, in our country, we're saying these are periodicals. The books are finished, printed, published, etc. once, and the journals and other content of international standard serial number are so-called periodical. They are published continuously in some period of time. Next slide, please. The form of ISSN is typical, and it is composition of the two parts, which are from 7 preceding digits, and the last one can be X instead of 10, and this is the method of definition and avoidance of ambiguity. Next slide, please. Fortunately, in our country, ISBN and ISSN are obligation of the publishers and are provided by the National and University Library St. Kliment Ohridski in Skopje in our country. All books and serial numbers in our country are covered with these standards, and this question is solved in very well manner. Next slide, please. Digital object identifier is a digital identifier of an object, any object, which can be physical, digital, or abstract, or full paper. DOIs solve a common problem, keeping tracking of the things. Things can be matter, material, content, or activities. Designed to be used by humans as well as machines, DOIs identify objects persistently. They allow things to be uniquely identified and accessed reliably. You know what you have, where it is, and others can track and see what it is. Next slide, please. There is special anatomy of digital object identifier. On the left is foundation server. Then this is prefix, which is allocated and given to the publishers. And the last one is suffix, which is free to be defined by the publisher. Next slide, please. Usually, DOI number are on the top of left corner of the article if it is in printed format, as in this example. But other parts of the papers can contain on different parts. But the most frequent way is this location of the DOI. Next slide, please. We have also Scopus affiliation identifier. We learned from the previous lesson that Scopus is very important, and affiliation of the persons and affiliation of institutions are very important to be identified. This identifier from Scopus distinguishes between affiliation by assigning each affiliation in Scopus, and each affiliation has unique number, and some of them are grouping together as combination of institutions, and all documents affiliated are connected with such organization, group of organization, or one organization. Next slide, please. In our country, in Scopus, we have 20 affiliations defined, and these are, as you can see, most of them are from St. Cyril and Methodius University in our country, because this is the oldest educational and scientific institution in our country. Next slide, please. But if we analyze the groups of affiliations in St. Cyril and Methodius University of Skopje, we can find, as in this picture, that the composition is not real and it is truncated somehow. Next slide, please. If we analyze, for example, the affiliations and grouping of St. Cyril and Methodius, we can see that there are 2, 4, 5 different affiliations ID, and university as a institution or group institution is not identified, but it is identified together with Faculty of Natural Sciences and Mathematics. What it means? It means that if we analyze the scientific data from the University St. Cyril and Methodius, they are not complete, and they can be truncated and divided with different parts of the university. For example, Faculty of Medicine is divided, Faculty of Pharmacy is divided, Clinic for Children Disease is divided, and university clinical center is divided from the university. There is need for official correction, and unfortunately, in spite of the discussions in the past, this problem is not solved even now. Next slide, please. What is ORCID? ORCID is Open Researcher and Contributor ID, which is global and which is maintained but not by not-for-profit organization. And we can see that it became the most important identificator for researchers. Next slide, please. The registration of each researcher is very easy, and it has 3 steps. In the first step is registration, in the second is use of ORCID, and the third step, sharing of the data of ORCID. Next slide, please. This is an example of the full how to say, data of one researcher, which are from the left different identifications, names, surnames, variations of the names, emails, etc., biography, but also employments, works or published papers, and also peer reviews, which can be traced from the activity of the research. Unfortunately, for our Republic of Macedonia, less than half of the researchers are completed, and most of them are only with the name without any additional data, which is very big problem. No one in our country is responsible for keeping this data as precise as possible. Next slide, please. ORCID ID can be used in several things, but the most important is identification of the authors. We can see here that behind each of the author of the paper, there is ID identification, and if we click on the ID icon, then we will open the identification record of such person. In this way, we can identify the reality and existence of the authors which are connected with each paper. Next slide, please. What is Research Organization Registry? Research Organization Registry is global community-led registry of open persistent identifiers for research organizations. This is the newest identifier, but it becomes very fast growing, and it happens that like ORCID ID, it will be standard in the near future for all research organizations. Next slide, please. Publishers are obliged to follow these steps for research organizations, but it is not so important. Next slide, please. Some of the journals are connecting affiliations of the authors with the Research Organization Registry, and this is one example. We can see this author is in the research institution which is registered, and in this, if we click on the ROR, we will open the details of the registered affiliation or registered institution. In this way, we can see that we can identify the authors and we can identify the affiliations or research institutions in the world. Next slide, please. In conclusion, authors of scientific papers should register themselves on ORCID. They should receive ORCID ID. They should complete requested details. They should authorize ORCID for update of their publications and reviews, and they should be automatically updated in the future. Other standard identifiers in scientific publishing are responsibility of scientific institutions and publishers, but not of the authors. More details from this presentation, the previous one, you can find on the URL address on the bottom of this slide. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. A question about tips for improving scientific appearance. What's your experience with ResearchGate, given its popularity among authors as a professional platform compared to the professional Facebook pages?
ResearchGate?
Yeah.
Yes, but ResearchGate is like the other, I would say, platform from social scientific fields, and researchers are individually attending and sharing their materials. So it depends very much from the activity of the authors. Do you understand? So more active authors share their scientific papers, discussions, readings, downloading, etc., etc. But it is, how to say, somehow biased, and the people which are not active individually, they are not present in this platform, as I understand. Pavlo?
Yeah, I can add that ResearchGate is a platform that is actually called a Facebook for scientists.
Yeah.
So it's a really great platform to participate in, but as you said, sir, correctly, if you want to take part in that so-called game, you need to be an active user. And as I understood the question, part of it was about our personal preferences, and we need to understand that really ResearchGate is a kind of a Facebook but smaller, and there are only scientists here, and all the strategies and all the communication you can do here is almost similar that you will do in Facebook too. But in Facebook there is a much broader audience, and from that reason, personally, I prefer to use Facebook for scientometrical goals, but being an active user in ResearchGate is a great idea too. The only thing I want to add here is that I guess it's smart to pick a few platforms you want to be active in, and not to do all of them at one time, because it's impossible to be active in all of them. So pick a couple that you want, that each of you actually want, and be on them, but be the best ones.
Okay, hope you hear me now. There is a second question for Professor Spiroski. How widespread is the adoption of ROR numbers among scientific institutions?
As I can see, in our country, there is no any activity, any database, any institution dealing with the follow-up of the researchers and their work. Probably university and library is close to the following of the journals, but not as precise as journals to follow the authors. They have database of the scientific papers published by authors, but unfortunately they are not complete and they are not precise. But in the last few years, several platforms from the universities, so-called databases or Riznici, or from the University of Goce Delce, from the University of Cyril and Methodius, from the University of St. Paul. As I know, only these three universities have such open access platforms for deposition of the individual achievements, scientific achievements. The situation is a little bit better, but it is not complete because they started later on and they are recording only the data from the young scientists which are applying for the scientific and educational profile. For example, for the professor, for the assistant, and so on, they are obliged to deposit their works in all those databases. But the papers published from the previous time from our country are not in any way, in any place in our republic. And a lot of citation of, I would say, older or scientific work from the previous time is inaccessible and is not used for creation of the quality of the analysis of the impact of the science from the university and so on and so on. So in the new time, there are good, I would say, steps, but the previous work, scientific work, somehow is not accessible.
If I may ask a question, what is both of yours opinion about academia.edu? Are you aware of this portal?
Yes, the similar thing. They are collecting accessible, open access papers and other works, but no one collect and exchange the previous published material. It should be somehow digitized and somehow, how to say, organized and given to the young people and the international community to see what was in the previous time. Unfortunately, until now, we do not have any impact of these from previous time. So academia is good, but in this, as I explained, only for the new published material.
Thank you. It appears that there are no more questions, so I would like to just explain to the attendees the following procedures. The follow-up to this meeting, actually, it will be, they will receive the presentations from both lecturers as a digital copy, but unable just for viewing. In case they want to go through it again, they will receive a copy of the video of this webinar, and try to keep the discussion going through email. Also, everyone who attends the meeting will, of course, receive their certification of attendance by the Macedonian Medical Chamber. For passive participation, it's 2 points. For the lecturers, it's 4 points. It will be done in the next couple of days, no matter if it's the weekend. We'll try to keep the discussion going. If there are any more questions, they can answer them. They can post them over the email. So if there is nothing else, I would like to close the meeting, if you agree.
I would
Okay,
like
I
to
would.
say thank you. Oh, I'm sorry for
Yeah, yeah.
interrupting, sir, but I would really like to say thank you. Thank you for such an invitation. It's an honor for me and for our company to be invited to such a webinar, to such an event, and a huge amount of attendees prove us that we do something that is needed. And I also hope that we will cooperate in future too. Thank you one more time for such an opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much, Pavel. Thank you very much, Stoyan. And thank you very much for the attendees. I am very pleased that we succeed to organize this first Scientometric webinar. I hope there will be in the future more on the specific points, for example, for scientific method, especially, and for several parts of Hirsch index, for example, and how to organize in our country, if possible, database for Hirsch index for all scientists and all institutions. I hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening and have a good extended weekend if you're from Macedonia.
Bye-bye.
All the best.